Hello, good evening, everyone. I know some people are still connecting to audio, but I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and tonight we're going to run the lottery for the 61 affordable rental units at Sanctuary at Winchester in Winchester, Massachusetts. We're going to get the lottery underway in just a few moments. If you have any questions during the session, you're encouraged to go ahead and ask them. You can do so by either typing them into the chat through Zoom, or you can unmute yourself. I just ask that if you do unmute yourself, you go ahead and put yourself back on mute so we can minimize any outside noise. So when you came into the meeting, you also heard that it's being recorded, and the reason for that is because we are going to be posting this to the SEB Housing YouTube channel in case anyone who wanted to attend tonight wasn't able to. And first, I just want to give you some background information on the lottery, how many applicants we had, how the process is going to go both tonight and after the lottery and the waiting lists are generated. So I see one person here is saying they couldn't hear anything. Can you hear me now that your audio is connected? Is anybody else having a problem? Okay, I'm going to take that as everybody else can hear me. All right, so all the information I'm about to give you is going to be in a handout that's going to be provided to you when I send out the waiting list later on tonight. So no need to write any of this down. I just want to give you some background information. Everyone should already have a lottery application number. That number is in the form of a series of numbers. So for example, A.0123 is someone's number. Let me know if you don't have that number. That is the number that is going to be drawn tonight. We're not going to be calling names or anything like that during the lottery. So I'm actually going to be running two lotteries tonight since there are two separate properties at Sanctuary at Winchester. So there is Sanctuary West, which is located at 416 Cambridge Street, and then there's Sanctuary North, which is located at 25 River Street, both in Winchester. We've combined this lottery session because of a few reasons. The properties are very similar. They're both managed by the same company. They're within the same town. They also have the same rent and all of that. So there's 61 total affordable units. That's between the two properties. And there was a total of 321 completed applications. All but 5 of those applicants are going to be entered into both of the lotteries we're doing tonight. We did have requests from 5 people that they only wanted to be entered into one property or another. Otherwise, if you didn't make that request, you're going to be entered into both of the lotteries tonight. So for Sanctuary North at 25 River Street, there were 319 applications. For Sanctuary West, there was 318 applications. And between the two properties, we have one studio apartment. There were 59 completed applications for a studio. There are 19 one-bedroom apartments. There were a total of 140 completed applications for those one-bedrooms. There's 34 total two-bedroom apartments, and there were, actually, I don't have the number here. I believe there were 180 applications for those, or maybe 138. I'll check on that in just a moment. There are 7 three-bedroom apartments, and there were 100 applicants. Let me go back for you to how many two-bedroom applicants we had. 117 applicants for those 2 bedrooms, so 34 2-bedrooms total. Like I said, all lottery applicants are going to receive an email at the latest by tomorrow morning that is going to further break down all of the applicants, how many people have local preference in each of those waiting lists, and all of that. Back when you completed your lottery application, you would have indicated, and SEB Housing would have confirmed whether or not you were a type 1, 2, or type 3 household. So you want to keep in mind that for the 2-bedroom waiting list, type 2 and 3 households will have priority over type 1 households. And then for the 3-bedroom unit, type 3 households are going to have priority on that waiting list. This is just because the program, the affordable housing program, is designed so that households don't have priority for units with more bedrooms than their family might actually need. So in general, larger households will have priority for those larger units. The email that you received from SEB Housing that had your lottery application number, it also confirmed whether it confirmed the unit sizes that you were eligible for. So those will be the waiting list that you'll find your number on. And it also confirmed whether or not you indicated that you needed a disabled accessible or hearing impaired accessible unit. There's local preference for 31 of the affordable units. So if you answered yes to the local preference question on your lottery application, you're going to have preference on some of the waiting lists. You just want to keep in mind that verification of your local preference, meaning verification that you either live or work full-time in Winchester, will be required later on if you're invited to move forward in the process. And that you'd submit all of that to us with your income, asset, tax documentation at a later date. And then also, if you indicated that you do need an accessible or hearing impaired apartment, you will have priority on those waiting lists as well. There's 3 affordable units between the 2 properties that have accessible features. So when the drawings take place tonight, you're not going to know exactly where you fall on the waiting list, even if you're drawn first. And that's because we at SEB Housing still need to sort the waiting list based on those preferences that I just mentioned. So local preference, whether or not you are a type 1 or type 2, type 3 household, all the numbers are just going to be drawn tonight, and then we sort them after the fact. So after the drawing, either tonight or tomorrow morning is when you'll get those waiting lists, and it'll make more sense in terms of where you actually fall. So there's going to be 2 drawings for each of the lotteries tonight. So that's going to be 2 for each property, meaning a total of 4 drawings. I'm going to be using the website random.org to complete the drawing. First, I'll be doing the local preference drawing, and this is going to include households, like I said, who indicated that they either live or work full-time in Winchester. I'm going to screen share it for you so you'll be able to see it. I'm going to insert those application numbers into a list randomizer function, is what it's called, on random.org, and it will digitally generate a random order of those application numbers. We're doing it this way to try to keep the results as truly random as possible. There was hundreds of applicants, as I mentioned, so rather than grabbing all of those application numbers out of a box, this hopefully will be a little bit more transparent for you. And you'll see the results instantaneously as well. They'll be on your screen. If you have your computer in front of you, you will, I'll screen share and you'll see it. After that local preference drawing, I'm going to then put all of the application numbers into the same list randomizer, and again, use that function that will just digitally randomize the numbers. I'm going to screen share right now just to kind of give you an example about how that's going to look before I actually do the drawings, just so you can have an idea. So I'm going to go to random.org and I will show my screen now just so you can see that. Real quick. So here I am. This is the website. If I go down to list randomizer and I put in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously there's going to be many more numbers when I'm actually doing the drawing, but this is what the page is going to look like. It's going to have A.001, A.002, all the way down the list. I'm going to click randomize, and it's going to spit out the results for me. So in this case, you can see that number 2 was drawn first, number 4, all that. So that's what it's going to look like, except it's going to be the application number. So I'm going to click out of that now because that is obviously not the drawing. But when I do go back in there, it will be with all of the application numbers. So the order that random.org generates for those drawings is going to allow us to properly sort the results of the lottery tonight onto the waiting list. And the waiting lists are what determine the order in which households and applicants are going to be able to reserve apartments. So again, just want to stress that tonight's drawing is not the final order of the waiting list. You'll get that as an attachment to an email later on tonight or tomorrow morning. Copy of the wait list are going to be in that email, as well as just some more information on the background of applicants. You want to keep in mind that you might be on more than one waiting list. So if you applied for both a studio and a one-bedroom, for example, you're going to be on more than one waiting list because you'll be on the studio and a one-bedroom. All of you, except for the 5 people that requested to only be on the waiting lists for one of these properties, are going to be on waiting lists at both the River Street Sanctuary North and the Cambridge Street Sanctuary West properties. So there's going to be a lot of attachments to this email because there's going to be different waiting lists for those 2 properties. So when you receive that email with the waiting list, you're going to see that the top lottery households have their numbers highlighted in green. This is because those households are going to immediately be asked to move forward or invited to move forward in the process. And that means the next step in the process, which is to complete a lease application with the leasing office. So the leasing office might invite more households than there are available units to complete a lease screenings and their lease screening. And that is because sometimes applicants drop off, they're no longer interested in the unit, they change their mind about renting, and they just want to speed up the process. So if you're found lease eligible by the leasing office, the household with the highest priority on the waiting list is going to have the first chance to select a unit and reserve it. If you're not one of those top households on the waiting list, you're not going to be moving forward in this process right now, unfortunately. However, if for some reason applicants ahead of you drop off the waiting list, we will need to go further down the waiting list in order to fill the unit. So you could be called forward even if you're not highlighted in green on the waiting list that you're sent tonight. So your takeaway should really be, if you're not one of the top households when you receive those waiting lists after we do the drawing tonight, we're not going to be reaching out to you unless households ahead of you drop off those waiting lists, which certainly does happen. So also it's important to be reminded that we have not completed the final eligibility screening for you yet. So we've only done a preliminary screening of your household. On your lottery application, you self-reported what your income and assets are, and we confirmed that you were eligible based on what you reported. But we haven't yet collected the income, asset, and tax documentation from you. So even if you're one of those top households on the waiting list, after tonight, we would suggest that you hold off on, giving notice to a landlord or anything like that, because you haven't yet been lease approved by the leasing office or approved by SCB, because we have to still take a look at your income information. Every household who is found to be eligible for the lottery should have received a link to the documentation requirements guide. And that guide details all of the information that we will be asking from the top household. For example, how many pay stubs you might need to submit, the details of what asset documentation we might need from you. Hopefully you've been able to gather some of that information already. That is the information that we'll be asking from you in the top household. And you'll be given about 10 days to submit that information once we request it from you. We've been told that leases for the affordable units at Sanctuary North, which is the River Street address, will be available around mid-August. while the units at Sanctuary West on Cambridge Street will not be available until October. But there are still a few more steps in the process, as I mentioned. So following tonight's lottery, anyone who is leasing up at Sanctuary North, there shouldn't be much of a delay at all, at least. Finally, before the lottery, just a reminder that households that are living in affordable apartments do need to recertify their income every year. So that'll probably be with the leasing office next year. So we just encourage everyone to maintain a file with your household's records. So income, pay stubs, tax records, asset, bank statements, things like that, because that will be asked for once a year, as long as you are renting an affordable unit. All right, any questions before I start with the drawing? All right.
Yes, I have a question. So you said there were 300 for North and 300 for, so total for both is 600, or is it like applicant, or is it like, because I kind of like don't understand the whole thing you just said.
Sure. So there are 321 total applicants. So that's between the two properties, but all but 5 people are entered into both of these lotteries because you had to basically opt out of not being put into both. So the total application numbers for Sanctuary North, which is River Street, is 319, and for Sanctuary West was 318. So if you didn't contact us to say, I'm really not interested in the Cambridge Street address, you're going to be on both waiting lists. They're very similar properties, so we figured that most applicants would be interested in both.
Okay, thank you. And
Sure.
another question. So, because when I was reading it says 2 property in, I think it's Cambridge, and then the other one has 5. So, so are you gonna have like one waiting list, and then one waiting list for both?
Nope. So there's going to be different waiting lists.
Not the other bedroom. I'm talking about the waiting list for both, like for the 3-bedroom, or just like you're gonna have one waiting list for the one property for 3-bedroom and another waiting list for the other property for 3-bedroom.
Right. Exactly what you just said. So good question. There will be separate waiting lists for both properties. So there are 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms at both properties. There's going to be a 1-bedroom waiting list at Cambridge Street. There's going to be a 1-bedroom waiting list at River Street, and so forth. Yep. So that's why I'm doing 2 separate lotteries tonight. So your placement on the waiting list for 1 bedrooms at River Street, for example, might be a lot less or more favorable than it is at the Cambridge Street location. So you kind of have 2 chances to see kind of where your number is drawn in this case for 1 bedroom, which is a good thing. Any other questions?
One last question. So
Sure.
the like you said, one of them will be available mid-August while the other one is October. Mm-hmm. Is it property the apartments period, or is it like, are they gonna have like the 3-bedroom available in August and October, or they're gonna like it's just gonna be whichever bedroom available?
So it depends on where your placement is. So if they're screening for, if the leasing office is screening for, now I'm forgetting which one is available the soonest. So the August leases were for Sanctuary North. So if you are, that's a great question too. So if you come up on the waiting list for North, but you're actually more interested in Sanctuary West, it's not going to be leasing until October, you're just going to have to pass on that first unit if you are invited to move forward for it. So you're just going to have to make a decision if if you are called forward for both of them, which one you'd want to either take or hold out for. Anyone else before we start? Yep, so I can answer this quickly. A lot of this information is going to be in the lottery handout that is attached to the email that will be sent later on. But how many applicants at both properties for 2 bedrooms? So for Sanctuary North, the 2-bedroom applicant count is 117 applicants. At Sanctuary West, the same, 117. And local preference households, there were 30 local preference households. All right, so if there's any other questions, you can go ahead and type them into the chat or let me know. I know my colleague is here as well, Dave, and he's going to be helping with questions as we go through the drawing. So I'm going to pull up random.org. Again, I'm going to share my screen. I have the application numbers ready to go to be plugged in there for the let me just pull these up. I'm going to be doing Sanctuary North first. This is the River Street property. And I'm going to be starting with the local preference drawing. And so I'm going to share my screen again and show you the spreadsheet that I'm going to be working with here. Okay. So you should see on your screen now if you have it open. This is local preference for, these are all the lottery numbers of applicants who have indicated that they have local preference. I'm going to plug these 60, I believe 6 numbers into the list randomizer. It goes down to column 67 because I have that heading up there. So it's 66 numbers that are in here. These represent the 66 households who indicated local preference for River Street. So this is the Sanctuary North local preference drawing. I'm going to copy all of these into the list randomizer here. I'm back on random.org. As you can see, I'm plugging those 66 numbers into here right now. And I'm going to click randomize. I'm going to save, the results and all of that. And it's showing me here I had 66 items. This was the drawing for, and I'm going to have these on the screen so you can see where you fell in just one moment. So again, this is the drawing for the local preference households for River Street. And I'm just going to go back here real quick, bear with me, and save these results. So we have them. And once again, I'm going to make sure that you have the opportunity to see where you fell on this during this drawing. I'm going to do the open general list first before scrolling through so you can see where you fell. So again, that was the local preference drawing for Sanctuary North. These are all of the local preference, 66 households that indicated local preference here. Now I'm going to go to the open, which is the general list. There are all of the applicants here. Everyone who applied for the property, 319. Numbers here are going to be put into the list randomizer. Again, I'm going to click randomize. Just bear with me for a second as I save this. And then I'll scroll through so you're able to see where you fell. This was the general drawing for River Street, which is Sanctuary North. Give me 1 second. Let's save a duplicate here. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, local preference drawing, and I'm going to scroll down slowly so you can see where if you're a local preference household, you should see your number on both of these lists. This is the local preference list for Sanctuary North, which is River Street. First number drawn is here. I'm going to hide this over here because that causes confusion sometimes. The order drawn, number 1, and so on down the list. So I'm going to scroll through. Hopefully you can see make it as big as I can here. Order drawn is in column E here, and then column F are the actual lottery numbers. So if you're a local preference household, you should be seeing your numbers somewhere here. And I'm going to go on to the open general list next. If you're not local preference, you should find your number there. Again, these are not the waiting list yet. They still have to be sorted and by priority, local preference, household type, whether or not your household requires special features. Almost at the bottom here for the local preference drawing. So I'm going to move on to general. Sanctuary North, River Street, general drawing. I'll maximize this a little bit more. And these are the results for Sanctuary North, River Street. You can see the top 15 or so households on your screen right now. And I'll scroll down a little bit quicker here just because this is a larger list. Oh, that's a little too fast. I know there's some chats coming in here.
Catherine, can you save a copy of this and I can start answering people's questions too?
Yeah, I did. I have the duplicate saved.
Where is it?
Yeah, let me save another one just in case I saved over the one. Yeah.
Wait, I think I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm still scrolling here. This is the general list for Sanctuary North River Street. And if you don't see your number, you can let us know in the chat because Dave's going to help me out there. But still scrolling down, we're at about number 70 now. So everyone's application number, unless you asked to not be on the Sanctuary North lottery, you should find your number here.
And if people are typing in to the chat, wanting to know where they are, if you can do it to everyone rather than just directly to Catherine, then I can see it and I can help find your number.
All right, I'll keep scrolling down here. I know it's probably hard to see on the screen when you're looking for just a set of 4 numbers, but let us know if you're not seeing it. Just a few more here. We're around 240 now, and there are just over 300 total.
Catherine, I'm going to jump in here. So Kim 0027, you are 299th in the general. Zoom user Cervellin, you say you don't I have an SEB reference number. It should be A dot number. So if you have that, let us know what that is. We can look it up. Ivan, I'm gonna look you up now. A0259. Not on the local. General 77.
See a question, how many local preference, Sanctuary North, I'll get that for you in just a moment. Go ahead, Dave.
Zoom user 164223. No, that's not your lottery number. It's got to be A dot blank. If you give us a name, Catherine, maybe you can look it up and we can find it for you, and I'll go on to the other numbers, Nadia being next. And if you want to give your name directly in the chat to Catherine, Zoom user, that's fine.
Sure.
I don't need to give it to everyone. Okay, let's see, Nadia, 322, you were 6th on the local and 138th on the general. Next is iPhone 70084. Not on the local. 100th on the general. 100th. Next is Samsung 0204. Have you on the general list at 88th. General at 88th. That's 0204. Next is Laura 0240. Put those. Not on the local. 119th on the general. Monica 0304. And I know Catherine said this, but what I'm telling you now, or what she tells you, these are not the waiting list orders. It's merely where you were drawn relative to other households. So tonight we got to sort the results, put it on the waiting list. That's what will tell you where you are relative to other households in the lottery. Being drawn earlier is better than being drawn later, but it's not the whole story because there are priorities that we have to use to sort the drawing results to make the waiting list. One of the sort of classic examples is larger households get priority for larger units over smaller households, regardless of where they're drawn in the lottery. Okay, so Monica 0304, you had 235 on the general. Ruth 0263. $222nd on the general. Catherine, are you getting back to Nancy with her number?
I just saw that. Yeah, I was
And I'll
responding.
get Ricardo 0321. I don't have you on the local. Have you at 90th on the general? 90th on the general. That was 0321 Ricardo. Next is AV 0214. Don't have you on the local. General 167th. 167, 0214.
Nancy, you are 00A.0079.
I'll look that up. $0079 is 224th on the general, Nancy. 008.0079, you were drawing 224th in the general.
All right, so does anybody else have any other lottery numbers that you did not see on the local preference drawing for Sanctuary North or the general drawing for this lottery? We still have the Sanctuary West, which is the Cambridge Street property to draw. So I'm going to do the exact same process now for that property.
We have one more here, Catherine. Hold on. 0077, 61st on the local, 199th on the general.
I just have one more direct message here.
Nancy, you were 6 zeros. Oh boy, I already. Do you remember what Nancy's number was?
0079.
0079?
Yeah.
Okay. 224th on the general. Again, not your waiting list position, not your waiting list position, only the order you were drawn in the random.org. So you could, in theory, be much higher than that on a particular waiting list. You might not be, it's not a promise, but you could be. So keep an eye out for the waiting list that Catherine will send tonight or tomorrow, because that's going to tell you where you are relative to other households.
Finishing up this last.
I'll get to Marco here, 0325. Okay, Mark, I don't have you on the local, the general. 288, 0325, Marco is 288 in the general. Nadia, 0322. 6th on the local. 138th on the general.
Was that everybody for now? I just had a direct message, but that one is all set. All right, if there's no one else that's looking for their numbers here, we're going to move on to, oh, one more. So A.0214. You are 167th on the open list. Let me just check and see if you were part of you were not on the local preference list. So 167. What is the difference between local and general? So local preference households were households who indicated on their application that they either live in Winchester or work full-time in Winchester. There are several waiting lists for both of these properties that have local preference, which means that local households will have priority on those waiting lists over households who don't have local preference that are of the same household type. So we do 2 drawings because we need to have a order of preference within the local preference household. So we're able to generate all of these waiting lists. If you didn't indicate local preference, you still could be very high up on some of the waiting lists, and on other ones, you will just be below similarly sized local preference households. I know it's a long-winded answer, but hopefully it's helpful.
Catherine, I got 0187.
Yeah. So it looks like we're all set with messages right now. Again, this was just the first lottery. This was the Sanctuary North drawings. So now I have the exact same sheet that I'm going to use and scroll through for Sanctuary West, which is the Cambridge Street property. So I'm going to open that one now. And we can get started on the lottery for Cambridge Street, which is west. I'm going to go ahead and close out of everything for Sanctuary North. Okay, so there's that. Okay. All right, Sanctuary West. This is the same, looks the exact same as the other one. These are the households, again, who have local preference for Sanctuary West. There are 64 households because there were 2 local preference households who did not want to be on this waiting list. So that's why there's a couple left, a couple fewer here. I'm going to put these numbers into the list randomizer. And we'll do our local preference drawing for Sanctuary West. 64 households, 64 lottery numbers here, randomized. And this is the random order for those local preference households. I'm going to save And then I will put it into the sheet so you can see that. Again, this is the drawing for the local preference households for Sanctuary West in Cambridge, or Cambridge Street, I should say, in Winchester. Make it a little bit more readable here for you. And then I'll scroll through once we've done the once we've done the open general drawing as well. So that was the local preference drawing. Open drawing, again, we have 319 households, or 318 households, I should say, because we have that header there. I'm going to go back to the list randomizer, make sure that it's all cleared out. And again, I'm going to copy (318) numbers. This represents everyone in the Sanctuary West lottery, not just local preference households. This is everyone, including local preference households. Randomized. And I'm going to save these, and we're going to scroll through again for you. Bear with me for a minute. This was the general or open drawing for Sanctuary West. I'm going to save a duplicate now so Dave can assist with numbers. All right, so I'm going to go back to the local preference drawing for Sanctuary West, Cambridge Street. So these were local households for Cambridge Street, Sanctuary West. Top household here, I'm going to hide this column. First person drawn was A.0118. I'm going to scroll down now. Keep an eye out for your number if you are a local preference household. There were 64, so that was the end. And I'm going to flip over now to open the general drawing. So everyone's number is on this one for Sanctuary West, Cambridge Street. You can see the first number drawn here was A.0187. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and I'll scroll down for you. Almost 320 numbers here, so we know it might be difficult for you to see it. Again, this is just the number that you were drawn tonight for this lottery. It is not indicative of your placement on the waiting list. You could be higher on the waiting list than you are here. You could be lower than you are on the waiting list because we have not sorted these results yet. This represents type 1, 2, 3 households and local preference and non-local preference. Scrolling down a little bit, but if you would like us to find the number for you because you're not seeing it, or maybe you don't even have it up on your screen because you've called in, let us know.
Catherine, I'll start responding to these. So Leslie 007, wait a second. Another one I thought 012. Oh, sorry, Peter, 0012, 93rd on the general list. Leslie, 0007. 181st on the general list. Leslie, 007. Valerie, sorry, I don't know why you're not able to see it. Yeah, if I knew the answer, I'd certainly tell you, but I'm not sure why it's not showing up on your screen. I'm watching and I'm seeing it. So I don't know the answer there. Sorry, but if you want me to look up your number, I'm happy to do that. Kim, I think I answered. How many bedrooms are there for the? Oh wait, no. How many? The general 2 bedrooms. Let's see.
Dave, I'll jump in. I'm almost at the bottom here.
Yep. So Kim, the 10 2-bedroom units at Cambridge Street all have local preference attached to them. But keep in mind that non-local preference households are also on that list, which is, I know, a little bit counterintuitive. And in fact, larger non-local preference households will have a higher waiting list position on those 2-bedroom lists than will a smaller local preference household. So, you know, just taking an example, if there was a married couple with a child who didn't have local preference, as contrasted to just a married couple who did have local preference, the married couple with a child would be higher on the waiting list. To consider possibly overhoused in a 2-bedroom unit.
Dave, I just started answering some of the numbers here.
Okay, which one are you on?
I just did 0214.
0214. Did we get 0084?
I don't see that one yet. I'll look it up now though.
No, I'll do it. That's fine. I'll do it. 0084.
253.
253rd on the general.
How many 3 bedrooms are available at Cambridge Street? There are 2. 2 3 bedrooms at Cambridge Street, which is Sanctuary West. That is a local preference waiting list. So local preference households will have priority on that one. A.0263. Is 255th in the general. I'll write that in here just so you have it in case you are watching that chat. Oh, sorry. AV, sorry about that. I responded to your message, but that is not, I'm just gonna delete that. Ruth, that was your number. 255th. There, if you're doing any, let me know. Number 12, Peter, you're 93rd.
There's a couple questions here from Amira, but I'm not sure I totally understand, Amira, what you're asking. To which number will take in Cambridge? General number will going to wait list. I'm sorry, maybe you can flesh that out a little more, or if you want to just speak up and ask the question, I'm happy to try and answer it. I'm just not sure exactly what you're asking there. Sorry. Did you get back to this? I don't live in Winchester, but I'm right in the line. It'd be convenient for me.
No.
So yeah, if you didn't indicate that you qualify for local preference in the lottery, we can't change that now. You would have had to, in any case, you need to live in Winchester or work in Winchester, or have kids attending the Winchester public schools. So those are the only ways to qualify for local preference, and you would have had to have indicated that at the time of your lottery application. Catherine, did you get back to Marco 325?
I'm further up. I'm doing 0077.
Okay.
And I just gave you, I guess this is Leslie here. I just gave you your local local drawing position there, but you also have an open list. So on the general list, how many bedrooms are there for the general 2 bedrooms? At Sanctuary West, there are no open general 2 bedrooms, but there are 10 2 bedrooms at Sanctuary West. They're just local preference units. Oh, thanks, Dave. You already answered that. 007, was it 0079 or 76 for the, is it Nancy Cervellon? There you are. Saved that. How many 1 bedrooms are available at North for local preference? 4 units. 4 1-bedroom units have local preference. Oh, at North, sorry. At North, there are no local preference 1 bedrooms. There are 8 1-bedroom units at Sanctuary North, but they do not have local preference.
Trying to figure out where we are on the list. Did
Yep.
Kim get an answer? 0027?
I don't think so.
Sorry, everyone. The chat keeps populating, and as questions come in, they move older ones up, and trying to figure out where you are is a little bit hard because it keeps moving on us. I'm going to just try and talk these out loud. 0027, 23rd on the general. This was the drawing for Cambridge Street AV. Yep.
Ivan, you're asking for A0259. You're 143rd on the open list, and you were not on the local.
0268 K Pro, you were 51st on the local. 294th on the general.
Laura, you said you're kind of confused. You're not sure how you get picked for an apartment. So this is only one step in that process. We still have to sort the results from the drawings tonight. So you'll have a much better understanding when you get the follow-up email from us with the actual waiting lists that are attached. The waiting list will show you where your number actually falls after we do our sorting. So we have to sort by the preferences. So certain households have local preference on some of the waiting lists, and you know, type 3 households, for example, as I said before the drawing, will have priority over type 2 and type 1 households for 3-bedroom units, for example. So there's lots of sorting that needs to happen after this drawing tonight. When you get the waiting list, there's going to be top households that are highlighted in green. Those are the households that will be invited to move forward right away. And the next step in the process is to complete a lease screening with the leasing office. That would include, reference checks, credit scores, that sort of thing that you might be familiar with from renting elsewhere. And, when you get that email from us, you'll see if you're towards the top of the list. If you're not one of the households highlighted in green on the waiting list after we sort those lists tonight, you won't be contacted by us after tonight. If someone ahead of you on the waiting list or multiple people ahead of you on the waiting list drop off, you may be asked to move forward in the process at a later date. But it's only the households that are at the very top of these waiting lists that we'll send you later on that will be moving forward towards selecting one of the apartments. So there's a couple more here, Dave. Thanks for.
Yeah, did you get back to Ivan about local preference for 2 beds at River Street?
Yeah, so there's no local there is.
Yeah, there is.
At
Yeah.
it at Cambridge. Okay, so 2 bed, yeah, there's 12 local preference, Sanctuary North, which is River Street. There's 12 local preference, 2 bedrooms there. There are 10 2-bedroom local preference units at Sanctuary West. There were no 1-bedroom locals at North. And yeah, I understand the process is especially from the outside is confusing. So we apologize for that, but the lottery is just kind of one step in the process that is obviously required to be public, but it can cause some confusion just because these aren't the final results of the waiting list. I have a direct message here. How many 2 bedrooms in Cambridge Street for general? Sure. So for Cambridge Street, there are no 2-bedroom general units. There are only local preference 2 bedrooms. There are 10 units that are 2 bedrooms at Sanctuary West. There's 30 households who qualify for local preference. If those 30 households maybe do not submit local preference documentation or don't, submit the documentation that we need from them for income verifications, it's a possibility that someone who doesn't have local preference could lease one of those units. How many 3 bedrooms in Cambridge Street for general? Sure. Same, none. There's no 2 or 3 bedrooms at Sanctuary West that are general. They're all local preference. How many 1 bedrooms for West non-local? There is one bedroom that's disabled accessible, that's an open unit, and then there's 6 1-bedroom general units at West.
Catherine, just a thought, because there's a lot of questions about the number of bedrooms. I don't know if you want to just show the info pack waiting list on your screen real quick and scroll down
Sure.
through. People might find that helpful.
Yeah, I have it up. I just haven't. Can you see that right now that I'm scrolling?
Yep.
Yeah, just a little further down here. So this is the information packet. This is the order of priority on the Sanctuary West, which is the Cambridge Street unit. The local preference waiting lists are listed here first. And it's showing you how we're going to sort the priorities. So there's 4 1-bedroom local preference apartments. And this is the order of priority. For Sanctuary West, there's also 10 2-bedrooms that are local preference. As you can see, type 2 and type 3 households have the top priority for those units, followed by type 1 households. There's 2 3-bedroom local preference. Breakdown is listed here. The open waiting list, again, this is for Sanctuary West, which is Cambridge Street. These are the non-local lists. Open just means general, non-local. And then I'll scroll down here to Sanctuary North, which is River Street. The local preference waiting lists are listed first here. There's 12 two-bedroom local preference waiting lists, or sorry, apartments, with the larger type 3 and type 2 households having priority. But as Dave said, you'll see here, top priority for this 2-bedroom local preference list. Top priority is type 3 and type 2 local preference households, but the second tier is non-local type 3 and type 2 households. So if you're a larger type 2 or type 3 household, you would still have priority over any type 1 local preference household. And then there's a couple more waiting lists here that I'll scroll through just so you can see. Again, this is Sanctuary North, which is River Street. Any other questions? I know it's not the easiest thing to follow, especially because this isn't your final position on the waiting list at all. It's just the drawing tonight is part of the process. So there are 0 local preference 1-bedrooms at North. Correct. Yep, there's no 1-bedrooms at Sanctuary North that are local preference. Just 2 and 3 bedrooms. All right, so I'm going to do my best to have the results out to everyone tonight, if not by tomorrow morning. And at that point, you're going to know much more, or you're going to have much more of a sense of whether or not you'll be called to move forward into the next step in the process, which is to complete that lease application with the leasing office. Any other questions for us? What are type 3 and type 2 applicants?
There's a question about type 3 and type 2 applicants. Maybe you can share that screen too, Catherine. That'll be maybe the easiest way to show it.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, in the information packet, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's some information here about what type 3, type 2, type 1 households are. This is sort of the breakdown here on your lottery, on the email that you received from SED Housing with your lottery application number. It would have indicated which household type you were considered. So if you're a type, or if you're a 6-person household, a 5-person household, or a 4-person household, you're a type 3. Excuse me. And then as you can see, there's select 3-person and 2-person households that can be considered type 3 as well. Type 2 households, some 3-person households, and so on. If you're a single person and it's just you in the that will be living in the unit, you'd be a type 1 household. Anyone else? Like I said, you'll get an email from us. It'll be coming from info@scdhousing.com. And you'll be able to see where your lottery application number is on both waiting lists. So most of you will be on at least 2 waiting lists because, like I said, only 5 applicants opted out of being in both Sanctuary North and Sanctuary West lotteries. So another question here, Ivan, at the West location, just pulling that up for my own reference. No one has a chance on the 2-bedroom open list if all local preference move forward. That's correct. So there's 10 units, there's 10 2-bedroom units. There's 30 households that qualify for local preference. So if all of those households, or if the top 10 households on the waiting list follow through, they have all their documentation, then these units would be rented to a local preference household. Yep, there will be movement on the waiting list. I can't tell you how many people will drop off the waiting list or how that will work, but it's very unlikely that everyone will lease in the order that they're listed on the waiting list. Anyone else? I appreciate you tuning in and all the questions.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So my question is that, do we, if an applicant is, to move, is on top of the waiting list, so do they go through, SEB housing, providing documents through SEB housing, then the, property management, or is it like both at the same time? Do you provide, documents to SEB and property man at the same time?
So the first step in the process, if you're one of the top households, you're going to be highlighted in green on the waiting list that I send out. The next step in the process, or the first step after this, is to do your lease screening with the management office. So the leasing office will, ask for some information from you in order to do their lease screening. And if you're approved by the leasing office after they do, usually the, the typical screenings that might include rental checks and background checks and credit checks and that sort of thing. If they've approved you, you will come back to SEB housing. We will ask you to submit that income, asset, and tax documentation. If you're a local preference household, that's the point where we'll also need documentation from you to confirm that you are a full-time resident or employee in Winchester. So leasing office first, then back to SEB for income screening. Anyone else?
So we won't have to provide documentation to the listing office, like pay stub and W-2s and stuff, or do we still have to do, my question is, do I have to do it for both?
So I don't know what they're going to ask for their credit checks and things like that, but I'd be prepared to have your financial information ready. I can't say for sure what they're going to ask from you for their lease screening. But you will need pay stubs for our screening. Anyone else?
Yeah, please, question.
Sure.
We will have all this requirement next step or something like that, or what? Because I'm open late, so I didn't hear anything. So what's the next step after I saw my number in the?
Sure. So you're going to get a email from info@sebhousing.com either tonight or tomorrow morning, at the latest tomorrow morning. That's going to have the waiting list attached to it. If you see that your application number is one of the top lottery households on a waiting list that's highlighted in green, you're going to now move forward to the lease screening by the leasing office, the management team. If you're approved by the leasing office, you will need to provide your income information to SEB housing at that point. So you're going to know a lot more about whether or not you're moving forward in the process once you get that email from us with the waiting list attached. Because the drawing that just happened tonight for the lottery is just one step in the process. It's allowing an order of preference for us to create the waiting list, but it's not your actual position quite yet. We don't know who's moving forward until we do that sort that will happen tonight.
And what we will do if we not receive the email, or all the applications will receive short emails tomorrow morning?
Yeah, everyone that's in the lottery that was approved for this lottery, that had a lottery application number drawn tonight, will receive the email, not just the top households. So everyone will get that email.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and it'll have more information about moving forward. It'll kind of reiterate what we mentioned tonight for next steps. Any other questions before I let you go? Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I know that there's a lot, especially with 2 lotteries tonight. We had a couple of drawings. I appreciate your patience and happy to answer any questions after you get the email as well. If you have questions about your placement on those waiting lists, let us know. Have a good night, everyone. Be in touch.
Good night too. Thank you.
Thank you too.